Hi, my name is Alarke, also known as Mary Alouette. What is Set Your Life to Music and how did it form? Set Your Life to Music is an online coaching platform and community for female artists who are emerging professional artists in pop and electronic music who want to sing confidently and find their true voice, literally with advanced vocal technique and figuratively with their signature sound, and to write songs that they love that fit their voices like a glove, and produce tracks in Ableton and Logic, and record and release and perform their original music, and simply to fall in love with their lives. There's so much more than just practical music coaching, because you can take any singing lessons, songwriting lessons, production, business. This is about not only the practical side, but also the personal growth side that's necessary to move past blocks and barriers that keep you from stepping forward on your path. And it's also about learning the mindset behind going after your dreams and showing up even when you don't have that confidence. It's about doing it anyway and recognizing fear versus love and working on all elements of your artist development: money, time, personal evolution, codependency, relationships, all of these foundational aspects. I created Set Your Life to Music because it was what I was looking for. I was not a hobbyist. I was performing professionally in New York City full-time as a gypsy jazz singer. I was also producing other artists in studios as an audio engineer, and I was releasing my own original music and a few albums, and some of them did really well and won awards. Yet at the same time, I faced these barriers around really stepping in to do the music that I had truly desired to do. For example, I went to opera school at the Schulich School of Music at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, and I studied in Austria at the American Institute for Musical Studies in Graz, and in northern Italy in the Filsamschlern International Opera Festival, and I'd also perform at Carnegie Hall and the Kennedy Center. And I'm from the States in Maryland, and I did opera, I loved it, but I felt like it wasn't truly me. And so I embarked on a journey to find my voice. And then I fell into a career singing gypsy jazz, which I love the music and I love the community, but it wasn't fully me. And so I was also working in a studio to try to learn what happens behind the glass and record and release my own music that fused electronics and jazz, because when I was doing classical music, I also studied digital composition at McGill, yet I still couldn't find my voice. And it wasn't until I peeled through a lot of the personal relationships with myself that I was really creating what I wanted to do. I was looking for a mentor who could help me piece together all of the different pieces and who could know where I was and where I wanted to go and help me get there. I wanted someone who could give me personal one-on-one attention, where I could be like an apprentice and learn from them how they did it. And of course, everyone's journey is unique and personal, but there are underlying themes that lead you towards your joy, your highest self. And this is about stepping into your highest self. And Set Your Life to Music also believes in community and creation over competition. I know for me, especially growing up doing musical theater and opera, there was one role, like the lead role, that you would, shoot for. And if you didn't get it, felt like, so much rejection. And there's so many reasons why you may or may not get a role, depending on abilities, but also maybe you look like the director's ex-wife. Who knows? But in taking that, I then took this feeling that I was pitted against other female artists, which wasn't true, but in my mind, I thought I was. And there was so much competition, and I just didn't like living in that world. And in Set Your Life to Music, we're all about creation and community over competition, because we all know that saying that the only competition that we have is with ourselves. And it's true. And there's also the saying that a rising tide lifts all boats. And as women are getting more recognition in the music industry, not just on stage as artists, but also behind the glass as engineers and producers, it's important that we raise the level of awareness of everyone's achievements and come together to lift each other up. And there is a big movement happening with that right now, and it's such a joy to be a part of. And Set Your Life to Music gives a personal approach to that, also working through advanced vocal techniques, songwriting and production coaching, producing albums, and doing a lot of the inner work that creates the outer results. Now, what is my take on the music industry today? I think it's a pioneering world. It's a new frontier. And it's more about community than ever. I just got off the phone with an executive at a music and technology company, and they were talking about how the music industry today is mainly based on a lot of industry standards from the 70s, and not much has upgraded. Like, finances are opaque, which is not okay for other industries, yet for music, somehow it still exists that way. Even though people aren't happy with it, they'll put up with it to the extent that they have to. And so I feel like it's a new frontier. We have access to fans all over the world. Relationships are vital. There are always new technologies, but fundamental concepts still exist. That relationships are everything. Community is everything. And it's a time for experimentation. You can be an independent artist and do extremely well. There are plenty of examples of artists who are doing really well. Like Chance the Rapper booked an SNL gig without having a label behind him. And Amanda Palmer is raising millions of dollars when she's not on a label. So there are things that open the doors that you can create, and you have the ability to do them. I think one of the biggest things today is that people are looking for transparency with financials and having financial wellness through their music. Yes, everyone always has wanted financial wellness through their music, to be able to do music and make a living and not just survive, but thrive. And now there's more demand for transparency, and my hope is that it will continue to be a place where people can, earn money and make it and thrive with abundance. So I do believe that you have more opportunities than ever to create your own artist world and your own opportunities. It just takes shifting the mindset. I know for me it did, because I used to think that some experiences back in the day, to me, made me think of every man for himself. And I know that communities existed, and some of these experiences were music related and some weren't. They were just from my own stories that I told myself. And reading Ayn Rand, The Fountainhead, every man for himself. Yet there really is a joy in connecting with others, and that is my favorite thing that I am exploring right now, is really building relationships and looking at parts of myself that might get in the way of building those relationships. And I know that freedom is on the other side, and this is the same message to artists, no matter where you are with what blocks that you have in terms of putting your music out there and stepping up to the plate. It's really going through those internal thoughts and beliefs that we have and questioning them. Is this true? I think there's a bigger level of mental and emotional well-being and awareness and health that's going on. And I hope that continues. Now, How does my career and musical insight help me with my artistry, if ever, if any? I've been an independent artist my entire life. I have performed professionally across pop and electronic music, jazz, specifically gypsy jazz, opera and musical theater and film, and I've won awards for my albums, and I've helped artists that I coach to win awards for their performances and albums too, like with the Apollo Theater's national tour and the Making a Star competition and the Mid-Atlantic Songwriting competition and others. Those are just to name a few. And artist residencies in New York City and the Washington, D.C. area, and being on grant panels who are awarding fellowships to other artists. So seeing the inside and the outside is enlightening in many ways. These different genres that I have performed and lived within each have contributed their own jewels. So I think classical music helps me with understanding the architecture of music, especially when singing. I see the notes visually in front of me in a structure, like Mozart, and a structure to the notes that are vertical, a vertical structure. And I also come back to the discipline of being in the practice rooms. There's nothing that felt better than going to the practice rooms at the Schulich School of Music at McGill University in Montreal, Canada, and other music schools and other performance centers where the practice rooms existed and people would just be in there working away in their music. And it's like the world melts away around you. And to me, that's one of the best things that I love about music, is that it's an opportunity to just surrender and get lost in the music. And when I am feeling off, or when I'm also feeling really good, it's always that discipline feeling that I come back to. If I'm feeling really good with music, it's because I'm in the zone with the discipline and I'm just vibing out, creating and producing and singing and recording or working with other artists and their songwriting, and time just flies by. And when I'm also not feeling well, but I have to get in the zone because I want to show up to commit to finishing what I said I was going to do, discipline. Now, with jazz music and singing gypsy jazz helps me feel free. One of the best things that I loved about singing in New York City and gigging all the time, I did it full time for 7 years, sometimes 5 days a week. I would just experiment with the melodies just on the spot. You get to know the music and your repertoire so well, and you hear where the music is going, and you know physically with muscle memory where these pitches lie within your body. And so you have that part already underneath you, and then you think about the message that you want to deliver, and you can visualize who you're speaking to as the protagonist and the artist, and then you can improvise and feel free within certain melodies and pass it around with other bandmates and riff on their ideas and back and forth. And I think jazz has helped me with that in my artistry now, because I feel freer and I really love jazz chords. Jazz harmonies to me are beautiful. Experimenting. Theater, I grew up doing a lot of musical theater and acting and film. And that has helped me with my artistry, with just comfort in front of a camera and talking to the camera like right now. And it's helped me learn to tell a story. And I think also be personable and visualize who it's for and tap into the emotions. Electronic music helps with my artistry. I love things that are edgy and pushing boundaries and challenging the status quo. And I think that helps me with my artistry a lot. Pop music, I love pop music, especially bubblegum pop that's really catchy. And it helps me develop my love for hooks and catchy earworm melodies. Pop music does help me with that. And it's something that I always pursue. I look to write songs that get stuck in my head, because that's what lights me up. And the other thing from my musical career and my own artistry, one of the things that has resulted from exploring my identity through all of these different avenues, looking at doing what you love, follow your heart. And because I remember not following my heart and, being in it and feeling like I was close to it, but not fully in it. And I felt like I was still, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, being on the sidelines. So following your heart for sure. Just then every day is living the dream, even though it's still work, but it's not because you're in your dream. And it's also about finding your true voice. As artists, we're sensitive and communicative, and it's about translating that through art. And as musicians, oftentimes we're skilled in visual arts, dance, because it's just a creative medium. And I feel the same could apply to different disciplines, vice versa. And it's about getting out of your own way and putting yourself in the game, because no one is going to come rescue you and discover you. At least we should have that mindset. And then if that happens, great. But take a stand for yourself. And it's easy to fall into the trap of comparing yourself to others. And it's always just remembering that there's someone who's always going to be further along on their journey than you are, and someone who's always going to be behind you. So it's just about being present in the moment and being grateful for that. And it's ultimately about coming back to why we do music in the first place. For me, it's a sense of letting the world melt away around me and be present in the moment. I know 2 examples come to mind. One is that sometimes I would skip school in high school and just stay home and play guitar all day. And it was fine because I did well in school, so it didn't really matter. And I would just let the world melt away around me. And the other thing is that I had an opportunity to work with refugees at the Ritsona refugee camp in Greece, where there are refugees from different Middle Eastern and African countries. And this opportunity fell into my heart, into my lap. And I knew in my heart that being with people who have gone through so much, so many unimaginable things, but being there to do music with them. I was volunteering as a music director with the Campfire Project in the IMU humanitarian aid organization. And with them at the Ritsona refugee camp, if you can just make music, and even for just a moment, if you can let the world melt away around you, and it's almost like this escapism, but it's even greater than that. It's spiritual, it's higher level consciousness. That is the joy of music. 3 tips that I would give to an upcoming artist are, and I'll go in more detail on them, but first, focus on creating and releasing quality music over quantity. 2, check your ego at the door. 3, transform your relationships with money, time, business, marketing, and your fans. So in terms of focusing on creating quality music, let's go through these. Quality is better over quantity because there's so much noise out there. There's a lot of really good music, but there's also a lot of crap out there. So as an artist myself and as an artist coach, I encourage myself and the artists that I work with to practice detachment from the creative process. We still work to create a lot of material in a short amount of time and just get into the process of doing. But then we go back and we pick the best ones that we're going to release. I know that if you're releasing something where your voice isn't on pitch, or there's no hook to a song, it's like you hear it once and then people might like write you off later in the future. You don't want to like wear down your welcome before it's even there. So it's really important for when you're doing music to have professional quality releases, quality artwork, if you're working with bandmates and of course engineers, pro quality. And if money is an issue around that, there's always a workaround. There are always ways for you to get things done at a professional quality in a way that works for you. Always release your highest quality work. Okay, number 2, check your ego at the door. Creativity and community are over competition. Enough said. So we get into music to have fun and do what we love. And it can be common for the excitement of social media and people coming to your shows to turn into a popularity contest. But that even takes the music out of it. And no one likes working with an asshole. When I had an artist residency at Strathmore outside in Maryland, outside of DC, I was paired with a mentor. And one of the first things that he told me in our mentoring relationship, he said, don't work with assholes. Number one thing. And he was actually a joy to work with. And, you know, we still work together. And it's true. I don't work with assholes. And nobody does. You can really dig yourself down into a hole that will be hard to come out of if you're an asshole. So be nice. People like working with people who are cool, who are chill, who are fun, who love music. And you don't have to be something that you're not. Just be nice. Don't talk shit about people. It just looks bad about you. It doesn't look bad about the other people. And also in our own journeys, people like to talk about ideas. The highest form of evolution is about ideas. Talk about music. Don't gossip. That is boring. People who are doing cool things are just going to leave you in the dust. Build relationships with your community and your fans, and your relationship with money, time, and business, like marketing. So for me, I spent a lot of time in my college years in Montreal, in these artist collectives. I had a lot of friends who were circus performers and who lived in these cool lofts, and they would do digital art and dance and all kinds of artistic disciplines. And there was a way to get by on barely any money, and there was governmental support and community support. But when I moved to New York, you cannot live in New York very well if you are just like barely trying to get by. So for me, I used to glorify the idea of starving artists. I thought that the only way to have integrity as an artist was to have that rags to riches story, and that the only other option was selling out. And that was the worst. Like, for me, I wouldn't go there. I thought that was akin to like a suicide of your ego. I was so wrapped up in just this nonsense. And it's the opposite. Ever since I started looking for mentorship and Set Your Life to Music, and discovering other mentors who weren't necessarily in music, but in business and personal growth, I took what they taught me and applied it to my music and my artistry. And now it's part of the work that I do with other female artists. But it's about empowering oneself and gaining confidence through finances, time, business skills, marketing, building relationships, and doing a lot of the internal work. These opportunities that have come forth from this have really been about embracing financial wellness, embracing money. Because money is not greedy. Money is just a tool. It's like sheep. So money is just a tool for you to elevate yourself and to give back to the world. And you can't give back, and you can't inspire others, and you can't lift other people up. You can't lift yourself up if you don't have the means to do so. So being a starving artist, in my opinion, is just part of the growth. And it's important to get out of that position and go after making some money and doing good to the world with that money. So what are my social media accounts? Well, my website is alarke.com. That's ALARKE.com. And I also have the Set Your Life to Music artist coaching platform, and that is at setyourlifetomusic.com. Now, Instagrams, Facebooks, YouTube, SoundCloud, Bandcamp, all of those links are on the websites, but I'll let you know what they are now too. So at Instagram, you can find me at Alarke. So that's just Instagram.com/at, well, it's not at that point, /Alarke, ALARKE_. Facebook.com/Alarke Music. YouTube, you can search Alarke, Alarke. So that's also youtube.com/user/look Alarke. Look Alarke. SoundCloud.com/Alarke. And Bandcamp, alarke.bandcamp.com. Now, Set Your Life to Music is at setyourlifetomusic.com. And we have a really cool community for female artists that's high vibe only. And it's free, and it's a great way to connect with other artists who are out there making and releasing music and stepping into their future selves and making that their reality now. That's at facebook.com/groups/setyourlifetomusic. And you can also go to instagram.com/setyourlifetomusic and facebook.com/setyourlifetomusic. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope this was inspiring and motivating and informative. And I'm so grateful for you and your time in tuning in, and I'm wishing you the most expansive up level, because we've got this one life to live, so why not? Lots of love. Bye.